Good evening and welcome to the Nevis Newscast for today, Thursday, September 17th, 2015. I am Bronte Swanston Hendrickson. Now for the news in detail. Some 3 divisions were named among the 9 National Honours awardees announced on National Heroes Day by Prime Minister of the Federation, Honourable Dr. Timothy Harris. Mrs. Marjorie Morton, Contribution in Public Service, receives the Star of Merit, while the Medal of Honour will be conferred on Mr. Theodore Hobson QC for contribution in law and Mr. Winston Skeet for his contribution in sea transportation. Other persons receiving the Star of Merit are Mr. Washington Archibald, Contribution in Education, Mr. Richard L. Keynes, JP, Contribution in Business. The Medal of Honor awardees are Mrs. Sylvia Garnett, Contribution in Nursing and Healthcare, Mr. Ivan Hanley, Contribution in Law Enforcement, Mr. Maurice Widdowson, Contribution in Heritage and Conservation, Mr. James Hanley, Contribution in Sports and Community Service. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris yesterday, September 16th, announced that a museum would be built at the residence of National Hero Sir Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, and a National Heroes Park are on the agenda of the Government of National Unity, he says. He was at the time speaking at the wreath laying ceremony on National Heroes Day at the Bradshaw Memorial Park in St. Paul's. Prime Minister Harris said that his government wants to commemorate the life and work of our first national hero. The Prime Minister said that it is the goal of the government to erect a museum at Sir Robert's residence in his honour. He said that His Excellency the Governor-General, in his capacity as patron of the National Trust, has established a representative committee of persons to spearhead the establishment of the museum. The third Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis also announced that in further celebration of the country's national heroes, your government will be designating an area to erect plaques and eventually busts of all of our national heroes. The concept of a National Heroes Park represents a new ethos, a fresh thinking in our treatment of not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but of all our national heroes. This location will become the sacred and special site to which locals and tourists will come, said Prime Minister Harris. Earlier today, the legal fraternity in St. Kitts and Nevis commemorated the opening of the new law year with a special sitting at the Charlestown High Court. Prior to the special sitting, however, they worshipped at the Taylor's Memorial Wesleyan Holiness Church. The first lesson was read by Honorable Justice Lorraine Williams, and the second lesson was read by Honorable Justice Marlene Carter. A special rendition was done by Mrs. Belva Nisbet, and the sermon was done by Pastor Spencer Watts. Following the service, the lawyers walked through the streets to the Charlestown Courthouse, where the senior judge in the Federation inspected a guard of honor. When the court was called to order, opening remarks were delivered by Justice Williams. The Honorable Chief Justice addressed the members of the judiciary via video conference.
There are many attorneys whose performance has been exemplary. I applaud you for your efforts in conducting yourselves in the manner which is required and respected of you. While there are few members of the profession who may conduct themselves in a manner contrary to the ethics of the profession, there are far more distinguished men and women in the profession who uphold the integrity of the profession and who have contributed and continue to contribute immensely to the jurisdiction of this region. I urge you to be responsible for your other colleagues as you strive together to uphold the integrity of the profession.
There were some 4 addresses from the local bar following that of Madam Chief Justice. First, it was Attorney General Honorable Vincent Byron.
Your Ladyships, the Government of National Unity, Team Unity, set as one of its pillars pursuit of good governance in all of its endeavors. We believe in the principle that the law should govern a nation, as opposed to being governed by arbitrary decisions of individual government officials. According to the Roman statesman Cicero, we are all servants of the Lord, in order that we may be free.
Following him, it was President of the St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association, Charles Wilkin QC, and Mr. Oral Martin. Making an address as well was a very young lawyer, Ms. Sandra Hector.
Violent crime has become a scourge in our federation. Hence the need for justice to be swift, sure, and meaningful. However, crime is multidimensional. We must now look at it within the context of technology and cyberspace, which eliminates geographical boundaries. So through our Facebook posts, tweets, emails, and blogs, we must keep alive the thought that these can all be avenues for facilitating criminal mischief. More importantly, miladies, our response to criminal mischief must be proactive as opposed to being reactive. As such, the emergence of social ills must be met with a change in law, mirrored by changes in government policy, and most importantly, changes in social perspective. I must emphasize that while I recommend changes, I am equally persuaded that such changes must respect and recognize the rights of the individual.
Presiding over the sit-in were Her Ladyship Honorable Justice Marlene Carter, Her Ladyship Honorable Justice Lorraine Williams, and Master Fidela Corbin Lincoln.
That my sister, Her Ladyship Madam Justice Carter, Honorable Master Fidela Corbin Lincoln, who is unavoidably absent, and myself have pledged to work to strengthen the rule of law and the justice system by adopting best practices to ensure equal access to justice for all persons. We will, through our rulings and judgments, promote a thorough understanding of the rule of law and also its importance to the preservation of our constitutional rights and responsibilities. St. Kitts and Nevis is a great country because her people are great, and her people deserve and have a judiciary that is second to none and that is open and accessible to all.
The mission of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court is delivery of justice independently by competent officers in a prompt, fair, efficient, and effective manner. The Independence 10K, 3K run took place yesterday, Wednesday, September 16th, where Timoy Henry of St. Kitts and Vanessa Williams of Nevis were named the overall male and female winners respectively. The 10K race started at the Nevis Tourism Authority's building's apron and journeyed along the island's main road over to Cotton Ground, through the roundabout and back to the Nevis Tourism Authority's building, while the 3K route journeyed along the island's main road, taking the roundabout at the bypass road and back onto the island's main road, finishing in front of the Nevis Tourism Authority's apron. President of the Nevis Amateur Athletic Association, Lester Blackett, delivered brief remarks and thanked all those who made the event possible.
Mr. Wakely just confirmed it will be an annual event. So look out for it, and we also hope to have other road ones later. So we want to thank the organizers, we want to thank the officials, we want to thank the police, those who volunteered to make transportation, the Red Cross, hospital, everybody else. I probably forgot, I said police already. So, and those who volunteered on the spot, some of you didn't come to volunteer, and you did on the spot.
The races were well attended by spectators who cheered on the participants as they crossed the finishing line. Assistant Permanent Secretary in the Premier's Ministry, Kevin Barrett, along with Miss Culture Queen 2015-2016, Ivania Thibu, distributed the trophies and prizes to the winners. Coming up after the break,
he, as the first Premier of Nevis, made some significant contributions in terms of creating certain policies.
Stay tuned.
Taxes are the lifeblood of a nation. Feel good about what your tax dollars do in Nevis. As a responsible citizen, your tax dollars protect our environment. Pay your taxes on time. This message was brought to you by the Inland Revenue Department, Nevis.
Be a responsible citizen.
I was attacked by two men at gunpoint. They took my purse and everything. Now I live in fear. Help us stop the madness. Tell 1-800-8477-TIPS.
Safe sex is the best sex.
No glove, no love.
Protect your pleasure.
Real men wear condoms.
It's your favorite DJ Kevy Kev saying, don't be silly, cover your willy. Oh.
This message was brought to you by the Nevis HIV/AIDS Coordinating Unit in collaboration with NTB/AIDS.
Welcome back. A mural in the image of the Right Excellent Dr. Simeon Daniel was unveiled yesterday, Wednesday, in his home village of Banscott. According to chairperson of the ceremony, the idea had been conceptualized for a long time, but the kudos for the execution goes to the young men in the village. Witnessing the unveiling of the portrait of Nevis's first premier were former Premier Honorable Joseph Parry and current Premier Honorable Vance Amory.
We need not only for the people of Banscott to understand what he achieved, but that the young people of Nevis can know what has been achieved so that they can try to emulate people like these, and especially Dr. Simeon Daniel.
We, as the Nevis Elder Administration, we are also cognizant of the fact that he, as the first Premier of Nevis, made some significant contributions in terms of creating certain policies, some of which I think we were fortunate to carry on, and I feel they have been to the benefit of the development of all of the people of Nevis.
A poem by Miss Latoya Jones and a profile by Mr. Eugene Stapleton preceded the unveiling by the oldest villager in Banscott, Miss Eglantine Dubarry. During the ceremony as well, gift certificates were presented to Eglantine Dubarry as the matriarch of the village and to some 3 students in the village who recently entered high school, daughter and son of the national hero Janice Daniel Hodge and Dion Daniel gave some words of thanks on behalf of the Daniel family.
It is an honor, and we certainly do appreciate all that the Banscott community and the Banscott village would have done in remembrance of our father. It is indeed important. It was mentioned earlier that the side of the dam would have names of persons from the community. And I think it's very important because the youngsters growing up in the community can recognize what it would be to live a life that is worthwhile, one that would be recognized and to contribute significantly to their community.
The mural, which was painted by local artist Vaughn Anslin, also has a scroll on one side that recognizes outstanding persons in the village. Villagers as well as parliamentarians and senior civil servants witnessed Wednesday's event. The activity went late into the evening as everyone enjoyed the merriment put on by the village management team and the young men of the Cherry Tree Convention. That's it for tonight's edition of the Nevis Newscast. I am Bronte Swanston Hendrickson. Thank you for viewing. Good night.